welcome to my live stream. I'm mayohosko. Thank you so much for watching. I'm building sets from my backlog from the Lego group who are worth billions and billions of dollars. And I didn't go live yesterday because of unforeseen circumstances. Yeah. And I ended up having a really busy day yesterday. So, yeah. Also, I decided before I went to bed yesterday that for a little while I'm going to be talking about the word expensive on my live streams, because after talking with someone about the price of Lego, I realized something about the community, and I need to talk about it over multiple live streams to get different people's perspectives about the subject. And so for a little while now, I'm gonna be asking the question in my titles: is Lego too expensive? Because I think some people have hijacked that word. I think some people have made straw man arguments using that word, and I think some people say that word when they mean to use other words when talking about the price of a Lego set. And it could be any different Lego set out there. Because I was also talking with a fellow mock builder, and we were on the same page about some things. Because if you're a mock builder, not a set builder, then you do see things slightly differently from people who only build sets. So as we get more people coming into the chat, I want to talk about is Lego too expensive? And because everyone always likes to complain about the price of sets, and people make different arguments about that. And so I want to hear as many different arguments as possible, because I think there's a lot of interesting angles that people can take things from. Yeah, so I think it'd be an interesting conversation, because I wanna decipher how my viewers feel, and anyone else. If they're a new subscriber, what do they feel as well? Anyway, so let's turn the page, and hopefully we can build bag 4 today. So who is in the chat? We have Alexandria, Brick Babe, Strictly Brickly, and that's everyone so far. Lego is a little pricey, but you don't mind because you love it. Yeah, some people are willing to pay that price, and more so I'm seeing other people aren't willing to pay that price. Hey, Billy. And there are some things I'm willing to pay the price for, but other things I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wait for you to go on sale, and if you don't end up going on sale, then I don't really ever need to buy you. Also, my table is a mess. I need to clean up my table today. I need to get the walling robots off my table. And I need to throw some stuff away because it's crowding my table. Yeah. Also, I went to the Lego store on Monday and I got myself a pick-a-brick box because they had some white 1x2 bricks on the wall. So I bought a small box of them. That's what's in this thing. And if you are new to the Mayohosko channel, please smash that subscribe button and smash the like button. Yeah, there's lots of different stuff on my table right now. I need to clear some of this off. I'm gonna put the drivers on the shelf right now because there's just lots on my table. Yeah, so Alexandria ordered a set you really wanted, but you waited till it was offered with double insiders points, so it was worth it to you. Yeah, some people strategically wait for that. For me, double insiders isn't even enough. I wait until there's a GWP, and I only buy sets from the Lego store if they're exclusive to the Lego store. If it's a wide release set, I just wait for it to go on sale at the retailers. I never buy Lego at full price unless there's a GWP I really want, and there aren't a lot of GWPs that I need. I mainly go after the vintage stuff. So like random generic stuff that's for contemporary sets, normally I'm not interested in. Which is why my favourite GWP ever was the 50th anniversary micro scale builds of some of those vintage sets. And I liked it so much that I pieced it together because I was years too late to buy it. And I actually brought it with me to conventions as well. Because I wasn't prepared to go online and buy the set at its crazy prices after it had been retired. I wasn't prepared to do that because it was a micro scale set, and the only exclusive stuff in there were the printed tiles, and I don't necessarily care about the printed tiles. So I was like, yeah, why don't I just piece it together? And I really enjoyed piecing it together. And it's come apart over the years, and I've made gradual repairs to it over the years, but it's on my shelf next to me right now. Yeah, and so if there was more people in the chat right now, then I'd be getting more so into into the debate, I guess, about how some people incorrectly use the word expensive. Billy says even the thrift shop Lego is getting more expensive. So what do you mean by that? Is it the same things they've always been? Is it the same things they've always been selling that they're raising the prices on? Is that what you mean? Because if it's the same thing that increases in price, then yes, that is the appropriate thing to say. But if something is of a higher quality, or if something is a bigger product, then I now say it cost more because I'm at the point where you can't say that something is more expensive if it's not the same thing, because it'd be like saying a Ferrari is better than a Toyota, so you would expect it to cost more. But if you have a Toyota Corolla that suddenly increases in its price by 20% and you only got an 8% pay rise, then the same car got more expensive. But the Ferrari is better than the Toyota, so of course it's going to cost more because of the luxury branding, etc. Hey, Silent Mode. Yeah, so that's my new general perspective after kind of coming to grips with some of the nuance. You're seeing yeah, I that sounds more like an individual thing. Um, yeah, yeah. Some bags, some pieces with the box manual uses to be. Yeah, I don't know what the context of that comment is. Yeah, so like I was making the argument the other day. Hey Johnny, that okay, so they're coming out with, or there's rumors, I should say, that they're coming out with a new UCS Millennium Falcon, and some people are up in arms about that because there's a perfectly good UCS Millennium Falcon available right now. And I've made the argument, okay, the original UCS Millennium Falcon came out in 2008, and they did a redesign in 2017. That's a 9-year gap. And if they come out with a new one in 2027, that'd be a 10-year gap. And you cannot tell me that there wasn't a massive increase in the Lego parts inventory from 2008 to 2017, and you can't tell me that there was a greater. No, sorry, you can't not tell me that there was a greater explosion in the Lego parts inventory from 2017 to now than there was from 2008 to 2017. So so with a lot of sets that they keep on repeating over and over and over again, a lot of it is because the designers want to improve upon their old designs because of new pieces available. Which is why sets used to retire after 3 years when they didn't add as many new pieces to their inventory. But now they add so many new pieces to their inventory every year that they end up retiring sets quicker than what they used to because of the new pieces to make sets look better. Now, I personally don't agree that they need to do that. I think they should still wait for 3 years and maybe spend that extra year of a set being on the shelf to refine the design, because otherwise it seems like they're making sets just for the sake of utilizing new pieces for new designs, and they end up retiring sets too quickly, even though they're a perfectly good design for their era. Because I'm not sure if you've also noticed that trend. Because it seems like there are specific types of X-wing, Quinjet, police station, or whatever else that you get in every 2 years, but in the old days you might have gotten it every 3 years, and because there used to be a 3 year gap, it didn't seem as much of market saturation, I guess, and it was more tolerable when there was a 3 year gap. But now, because it's a 2 year gap, AFOLs are starting to see it more often, and it becomes more saturated. Billy's saying the same leftovers are 5 more than a couple months ago. So is that because people are willing to pay the higher price, or is that the thrift shop is getting more greedy? I don't know the economics of thrift shops, because I haven't been there in forever. Silent mode being sarcastic. We need another $1,000 Star Wars set. Yeah, I keep talking to my Star Wars friends, and they're always tossing up different ideas. I would not pay $1,000 for a Star Wars set unless it was an MBS Ewok village. I would consider buying that. I would not pay full price. I would wait it to go on some kind of May the 4th be with you sale or whatever, and hopefully it wouldn't be exclusive to the Lego store. It would be made available at retailers who are more likely to put the set on sale. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. About to Billy, is that there was those stereotypical sets that we expect Lego to constantly redesign over and over and over and over again, which is why they get scapegoated and become the poster child. Because the X-wing and the land speeder is to Star Wars what the Quinjet is to Marvel, what the Batmobile is to DC, what the police station is to City, uh, what um what the Titan mech is to Ninjago. Um, I'm not sure what the Friends equivalent would be. But we can think of those stereotypical poster child sets that Lego always remakes over and over and over again. And if you're an AFOL seeing the market, it gets saturated, and we complain about it. And I think deservedly so. Yes, yeah. I guess the camper van would be a good example for Friends, because the amount of times I've seen them come out with a new camper van, that's starting to drive me crazy as a Friends collector. Hey Hive, about to eat dinner. You wanted to say hi. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate everyone hitting the like button. Well, see, that's a little bit different, because there's so many characters in the Friends theme that they they spread they spread themselves even across the board for all of the characters. Because there's a lot of houses in Friends sets, which I think is a good thing, but it's not the same person getting the same house over and over and over again. Because I remember back in the early days of Friends, you would get um probably two house sets for two of the Friends per year, and then they would keep that on shelves for a while because they had so many different ideas across the theme that they were able to keep a good gap between that. But even still, when they remade those houses, they changed some of the architecture. So even then, I wouldn't say that's an example of something getting more expensive. However, there are sets that you can compare because they're the same thing and they get redesigned where you can more so look at the price and use inflation calculators to say, okay, this is what this would have cost in this year. Um, is the was there too much inflation year over year? Did the economy really suck and push things out of line? That's something you can factor in as well, and that's why fools like me like to make the argument that the Lego group has always been expensive. If you go onto Brickset, they have the really cool thing in their set descriptions about what the inflated price would be, as well as the original regular retail price, which I really like because they didn't have that feature once upon a time. So you used to have to look at whatever they said and put it into an inflation calculator to see what it would cost these days. Because, like, for example, when I saw Jane Brick's review the Launch and Load Seaport, which was a town set that came out in 1991, they it had it had an RRP of about $90 back in 1991, and at the time when Jane Briggs reviewed that set, the inflated price in 2023 or whenever he did that, the inflated price would have been 170 for that. And then you can compare that to the City Harbour, which came out a few years ago. That was, I think, $110. So you see those numbers side by side, and then you can factor in the different sizes of the sets and the different complexities of the sets and the different molds of pieces in those sets, and then you don't just have to look at things on paper. Hey Hoarder, don't just have to look at things on paper. You can use a little bit of critical thinking and come to a realization about some of the nuance with a little bit of basic instinct, and realize, yeah, these sets are not the same. They are not the same complexity, and you can make a better comparison. And then it becomes, what is your preference? Do you like the better look of the newer harbour, or do you like the better play features of the old harbour? And then you can think to yourself, okay, if both of these sets were available right now, which would you buy? And for me, I would, with my rose tinted glasses on, if the 1991 Intercoastal Seaport was being sold today as is the City Harbour, and I had the option between to buy one, I would buy the more expensive option because I like the set more, but I would wait for it to go on sale. Because, like, I try wait for everything to go to at least 20% off, which is why I don't even care too much for the double insiders points, because that's only a 10% cashback. not a 20% discount, and the sets are normally more expensive at the Lego store than other retailers in my country. That's something I don't get about the US market, is that retailers would have the same RRP as the Lego group, which I don't think that should be the case. I think if a set is being sold at Walmart or Target in the US, it should have a cheaper RRP than whatever the Lego store is selling it for. I don't understand that. And I'm pretty sure that Lego structures that prices in other countries as an incentive to get you to buy from the retailers who they have contracts with. Oh, you're gonna get an order in soon. Nice. Yeah. So we're talking about some of the nuance about the question, is Lego too expensive? And I need to start building bag 4. So where is bag 4? Yeah. So some people today have given examples. I just gave an example. I wonder who else has examples. Because there's a bunch of different examples that I could go through, which I've observed. Hoarder says Lego is expensive, but feels even more expensive if all you do is build a set and stick on a shelf to collect dust. Yeah, that's a good point. The only ways you get your money's worth nowadays is if you take it apart and rebuild a few times, or if you mock. See, that's an argument as well. Is what is the value out of being able to rebuild something if you're just gonna going to build it once and keep it on a shelf to collect dust forever and ever and ever and ever. That's an argument people have been making about the pinball machine set versus some of the arcade Coleco style pinball machines that are on the market right now, which look better, play better, function better with lights and sounds, are way cheaper, and are probably more enjoyable to own. But it's Lego, and it includes the Spaceman, so all of the classic space collectors have to buy it. They have to buy it. That's bait. That's there are some classic space collectors who do not give a shit about pinball that would feel obligated to buy that set. And Lego knows what they're doing. They know they can bait people into paying big prices. I'm not going to say expensive prices. I'm going to say high prices. That's another piece of terminology we should talk about. High prices. When something big and fancy comes out of something that Lego has never made a set of before, so you can't compare its price scale to anything else. But it's big, it's highly detailed, it's got good complexity, so it has a high price. because not everything that has a high price is not worth it. If you know what I mean. And that steering wheel has a nice printed tile of the Ferrari logo on it. Silent Mo says Lego is more expensive in terms of value of play. Don't forget the scalpers inflated prices for those figures. Exactly! The minifigure prices. Yes, that's a perfect example. I can confidently say that Lego minifigures are more expensive than what they used to be. And that's something that you can make comparisons of for the last 49 years. No, sorry. For the past 48 years, we have 48 years worth of data to prove that the Lego minifigure is more expensive than what it used to. And it is some of those scalpers that you talk about, Silent Mode. They are highly responsible. And it's also, you also got to think about the minifigure collector culture. Is as more people have started collecting the minifigures, that means that there's more people interested, which means the demand is higher, which meant that because it's easier to buy something than it is to sell something, then the prices are more expensive for certain minifigures than what they used to. Like, I was so excited to buy this set because it meant that I wouldn't have to go to Bricklink and buy the original Michael Schumacher minifigure. I didn't, because I think I saw Michael Schumacher for 10 Australian dollars. And I'm not a minifigure collector, so I look at 10 Australian dollars, that's $5 more or $4 more than a collectible minifigure. Do I really want to pay that? And do I want to run the risk of the sticker being in bad condition on the torso? Do I want to run that risk? I don't think so. So I'm glad they came out with this set to get a new version of Michael Schumacher in a set that I really like, even if it didn't come with the minifigure. But I was highly motivated to wait for this on sale and buy it as soon as it went on sale, because I really wanted the Michael Schumacher and I really wanted to add to my collection of Icons scale Formula One cars. Hello, hello, CD. Yes, I am Australian. Was having this conversation last week with some people. Is that some people don't realize I'm Australian because I have a more neutral accent compared to other Australians in the Lego community. Because I'm not gonna say their names, but for the point of this argument, I'm gonna bring up two things. One is that a lot of my American friends think I'm British, and a lot of my British friends think I'm American, which is where I find the neutrality of my accent by comparison. And the reason why what enhances my feeling of a neutral accent is because I don't use the Australianisms that some other people do, because I've seen a lot of Australians just use O as a suffix for descriptive words, and I don't do that. I don't use a lot of Australian slang, and I think that might be because I'm a student at grad school, and I consider myself an academic, and you can't be using casual social media pub, a, a pub. No, sorry, you can't be using social media slang that would pass the pub test, but would not get a good, a grade. So maybe academia has refined my language to where I'm beyond slang like that. And that's just me. And also, um, when you hear my voice, um, I don't put some of the long draws at the end of my words, because I have seen some of my Australian friends are like, yeah, at the end of their words, and I don't do that by comparison. Maybe because I'm more serious and not as chill as other people out there. Maybe because I'm a city boy, not a country boy. That might come into it as well. But I find it really interesting when people find out that I am Australian, because I've realised it's not as easy to tell that I am Australian compared to some of my other Australian friends in the Lego community. That's a side conversation for another day. And what are people saying? What it says, figs are ridiculous when you price out a set. The figs are only $5 or less. But then the adults that don't actually care for the hobby, that's a good thing to talk about. Buy them all up and raise the prices. Exactly, because I've said with some of the whatnot sellers that Silent Mode was talking about, it's become a seller's market, and people complained about how the Bricklink the Bricklink database has been depleted of stock because whatnot sellers just hoard everything and they sell them to people who don't care about the hobby. They just want to get into investing. It's the same thing with Pokemon cards. People buy Pokemon cards and Lego minifigures who don't actually care about Pokemon or Lego. It's just like when those articles came out 14 years ago. Is Lego worth more than gold? And you got waves of investors coming in, investing in Lego who don't give a shit about it because they only have the dollar signs in their eye. Same thing with some people who buy Lego minifigures. Same thing with some people who buy Pokemon cards. Yeah, I've seen some of my British friends use the word mate in their conversations as well, but I've never really used that. I've just said friends, really, and I distinguish between my friends online and my friends in real life. Yeah, I'm definitely not Chinese, although I do talk to some people every week that speak Chinese, Mandarin. No, the crocodiles live hundreds of miles away from me. Probably the closest crocodile to me is at the zoo. Yeah, like there are some places around the world, like some of my friends in Texas, or some of my friends in in um in the Australian state of Victoria, or some of my British friends in the northeast of England. They have a pretty strong and distinguishable accent, and there are other places who have a more subdued accent. But yeah, I can. It's pretty easy for me to spot someone who lives in Texas. To be honest, long time no see. A trip of the old block toys. Someone was asking me about the playlist you have of your Avengers Tower mocks, because I was talking about how you bought 10 of the Avengers Towers and are making that giant Avengers Tower mock. I realized that with some of your Avengers Tower updates you've done in the past year, you didn't end up adding those videos to that playlist, so you might want to do that. Not sure if you realized that and you didn't add them to your playlist. Yes, everyone should smash that like button. We talked about a lot of stuff while building this set, and we've been talking about, is Lego too expensive? People have talked about Lego minifigures. People have talked about the thrift shop. There's a few different set comparisons that come to my mind. I talked about the City Harbour, and there's a laundry list of others. I need to turn this around, because that's the way the instructions orient this right now. Yeah, and also something I notice is that a lot of Australians like to I think I said this earlier. My mind's racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. A lot of Australians like to use the word like to use "o" as a suffix for for describing stuff, and I'm not one of those people. And it's probably because of my assignments in tertiary education that tells my brain not to do that. Because it's improper language, and if I do type slang like, if I do end up typing slang like that onto Microsoft Word, then I get the red lines underneath. Some of the older Australians do. I didn't even know about that word until I started playing Scrabble with people. When we went into the dictionary, because any word in the dictionary is fair game when playing Scrabble. I forget if IQ is a word in the dictionary, because if you ever have a Q tile in Scrabble, that's a quick word to play. If you can't use a Q to spell a word like queen or quiz or something like that. Yeah. And so something else I can talk about for expensive Lego is that, yeah, and I was gonna get onto this earlier before we went on some other tangents. Is that so, like, there's rumors that they're coming out with a new UCS Millennium Falcon, and the rumors is that that's going to be the next $1,000 set. And if it's the same size as the current Millennium Falcon, but they retire the existing Millennium Falcon and then redesign it, raise the price by $200 US, then yeah, that would be a more expensive set, because there's a direct comparison to a set that it would end up replacing, like when the 2016 UCS Death Star was a $100 price increase from the 2008 UCS Death Star, which replaced it the same year, and was an increase in price of $100. And I remember a lot of people justifiably complaining about that back then, because granted, I think they gave more minifigures in the set, and they improved the designs of some of the minifigures, but even still, was that really worth a $100 price increase? A lot of people didn't think so. Hey, Sadie. Chib has been working in your shop. You went inside to cool off. Yeah, so what is the temperature in Idaho right now? And Billy says the last two city campers was 20, it was 20, the new one was 30. Yeah, so with the city camper sets, I remember in 2009 getting that camper, and they've done lots of campers in the city theme. I haven't tracked the prices through the years, but was the new city camper, was that bigger than the previous city camper, or was it the same size? Okay, yes, so the new one is bigger with more pieces. Okay, so you therefore expect the price to be higher, but should it have been $10 higher? Should it have only been $5 higher? That's where customers have to make a value judgment, because there's nothing against something getting more complex, something getting more detailed, and something increasing in price, but it doesn't always need to raise the price amount it does, because there's been a bunch of sets I've seen which have had $10 price increases, but the increase in detail, complexity, or size, it didn't warrant a $10 price increase. It only warranted a $5 price increase. Strictly been seeing rumors of an Iron Falcon set. It's a Star Wars Marvel crossover. Yeah, I didn't know about that until I heard other people start to talk about. Yeah, so like that's a different conversation. We're talking about the prices of Lego sets. We can have that conversation another time, Sadie. But yeah, there are some people where I only watch their streams if I'm not doing anything else, because some people stream at inconvenient times of the day for me. What do you think? What do you think about the question, is Lego too expensive? That's what we're talking about right now. Trying to keep all other conversations to a minimum. Yeah. So it's like, if you only see the existing UCS Millennium Falcon, and then you see the new rumored one, which is scheduled to cost more, and then when we get the final picture of the set, it might be bigger, it might be more detailed, but it might not be worth a $200 price increase. Yeah, I understand. I just wanted to establish the conversation before it might have gotten sidetracked. I understand. Yeah, so we were talking about how, okay, if you only look at that, then you would be inclined to say that, yeah, Lego is getting more expensive, because that's a specific scenario to match the words we use in the English language. But you'd be forgetting that there's a polybag, a microfighter, a 4+ version, there's a MIDI scale version, and there's a PlayScale version of the Millennium Falcon? Is a $5 poly bag expensive? Is a $10 microfighter expensive? Is a $30 4+ version expensive? Is a $150 PlayScale version expensive? You make the judgment call. But then to introduce the word affordability, specifically talking about the concept of a Lego Millennium Falcon, to say that, oh, yeah, let's imagine we're in the year 2027 when that set is rumored to come out. Oh, the year is 2027. There's $1,000 Millennium Falcon. Lego is expensive, but someone who just bought the polybag Millennium Falcon that cost $995 less would be like, whoa, hang on. Polybags are on the market. You mean to tell me that kids can't save up their pocket money, their pocket change, their allowance, and go buy a polybag of a Millennium Falcon? You mean to tell me that kids can't buy, or their parents can't afford to buy them Lego anymore because $1,000 UCS Millennium Falcon exists? Oh, they do make a polybag version. Oh, kids can realistically save their money to buy that. Oh, maybe Lego isn't as expensive after all. That's a dynamic in the conversation, which I think AFOLs might be inclined to glance over. But I try to see what as many people as possible are saying, and I try to keep up with the different types of sets available at the same time if it's the same thing. Now, I can't keep up with everything, which is why I'm glad I have friends who do keep up with stuff that I don't keep up with. So Billy says they bought all the $22 Mattel Brick Shop Chevys. You seen them on Facebook Marketplace for as high as $90. That's crazy, man. Well, that's a reseller's market, not the retail market. You liked the polybag Millennium Falcon, so at a $5 price tag, did you think it was worth it? Were you satisfied with the polybag version of that set for its small cost? Because that's another dynamic, is that even some polybags aren't worth the $5 price tag. But you can't say that kids can't realistically save money to buy them. You can't say that a $5 polybag is unaffordable. You can't say that. And for people that have tracked the price of collectible minifigures going from $2 in 2010 to $5 now, you can say, well, the increase in the details and the mold quality hasn't matched the price increase, but you can't say anything that costs $5 is unaffordable. You can't say that. Now, for these $1,000 sets, you can say they are unaffordable. But when Lego eventually comes out with more $1,000 sets, which is a crazy thing to say, by the way, for there to be multiple $1,000 sets on a shelf, try tell that to someone in the year 1986. They would laugh in your face. Alexandra says, you think it's more FOMO because everyone wants to brag about what they have. Exactly. FOMO is another good thing. Flexing on social media is also something. There are people with main character syndrome on social media that want to go. It's all about me, 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 me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. This is what I'm doing. I'm the best person on here. Yeah, I'm totally not being fake or anything. I'm totally being authentic, 100% and genuine right here. Subscribe, follow, like, heart, love, watch, view. Send me money right now. Salad Mode says, is it more of an issue that Lego $1,000 sets exist, or that there are more of them? That's a good question. I would probably say that they exist in the first place, because a lot of people scoffed at the UCS Millennium Falcon being $800. A lot of people thought that was way too high. I remember when the 2016 UCS Death Star came out, which I referenced earlier, people scoffed at that being $500, which I think was the most expensive set at that time. Compared to the year 2000, when the buildable Statue of Liberty cost $200. That was the most expensive set back then. And then I think what dethroned the buildable Statue of Liberty back then probably was another UCS set from the mid 2000s. Billy says, think you got it for what is it? A poly? Oh yeah, your poly bag for $3.51 to win on discount. Yeah, but always wait for stuff to go on sale. It always goes on sale. You've gotten poly bags for as cheap as 50 cents. I remember people in the final days of Toys R Us before they closed due to bankruptcy. I remember people going into Toys R Us and buying poly bags all day long for 50 cents. That's when poly bags back in the day only cost $4. Now they cost $5. Yeah. Where does this go on? And we need another sticker. What did I do with the stickers? Did I bury the stickers? I think I buried the stickers. Yeah, there's the stickers. It fell into the trap of the junk on my table. Yeah, there's a lot of junk on my table. Okay, we need the sponsorship stickers. trying to think of other examples can talk about for Lego prices. We need a Vodafone sticker. If you guys can think of any examples about the price of sets, let me know and we can talk about it. Because I'm trying to think about more examples as well. Need a shell sticker. I'm trying to think of examples where I know there's either different scales of sets or outright price increases. And we need more generic sponsor stickers. Trying to think of more examples. Speed champions. Yeah. Is there any speed champions collectors out there? Because I think there's been well documented price increases in speed champion sets. Silent Mode collects some speed champions. I also collect some speed champions. Don't need to collect all the speed champions. Just the cars that I have a vague interest in. Because when the Speed Champions theme was introduced, the individual cars were only $15 back in 2015. Strictly collects some Speed Champions. Okay, now we've got to turn this around again. Yeah. Back when Speed Champions were $15, they were a lot smaller than what they are now. Hey Dragon, we're talking about the question, is Lego too expensive? I haven't seen that helmet leak. I don't know what that is. There have been fluctuations this year between 16 to 23 pounds. How could there be a fluctuation? Well, Hoarder, now you're making me want a subway. Yeah, I had a Subway on Saturday night. It was nice. Dragon says, no, it's not too expensive. It's just that the sets have gotten bigger and pricier. Yes, I was waiting for someone to talk about the scale. Let me go get my water. Um, because I'm because my stomach is starting to grumble. When I come back, we'll talk about that comment. I'm back. Yeah, and that's actually a good segue into what I was going to talk about with the speed champions. But what are you guys saying? Alexandra says, "Don't mind paying for we're playing a bit fast and loose with the word expensive right now, aren't we? Like the X Files." But Lego is using nostalgia to sell sets that children will not want, and is Lego in the long run going to be hurt by that? Let me just try to pass words before I give an opinion about that. Well, Lego definitely uses nostalgia bait to get people to buy sets, of which children aren't as interested in because they didn't grow up with the different properties that iPhones grew up with. So those two dynamics gonna hurt Lego in the long run. I'd actually be inclined to say no, because Lego has a really good balance these days, way more than they used to, between sets that are targeted to children and sets that are targeted to adults, especially since they introduced the Adults Welcome campaign, which is why I think they don't make as many play sets as they used to, because they don't think adults want to play with their set. Lego thinks that adults just want to have a set sit on a shelf and collect dust forever. The Dust Queen sets, as Jastifer likes to call them, which I think is a good term for those. A dust, a, a dust queen. Because right now, the Two-Door Corner is one of is probably my favorite a dust collector sets, shelf queen sets. As Silent Mode says, some of them were randomly on sale. Ah, okay, like the Time Machine is as low as £17. I'm not sure what that would convert to in Australian dollars, but that does sound slightly less than the RRP at the Lego store, which is weird. I've seen some Australian retailers match the $40 price at the Lego store, but other retailers sell some of the less popular speed champions for 35 Australian dollars instead of of 40. They're all 40 at the Lego store. And what really makes me feel sorry for some of my Canadian friends is now some of the speed champions are 42 Canadian dollars, which speaks to the decline of the Canadian dollar. No way in hell should a Lego set on paper cost more money in Canada than it should in Australia. But that's happening now, on paper at least. That's not factoring the nuances of currency exchanges. Alexandra says, "You should have said more expensive to me because you don't spend that much on one set." Yeah, like that's something a lot of people, including myself, are coming to grips with, is that maybe we do use some words a little bit too casually and don't consider their definition in the dictionary. I mean, that's why we're having this conversation to begin with, because I spent a couple days really evaluating the way I use the word expensive. Because I was using the word expensive in the past when maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I fell into the trap of everyone else using the word expensive without without fully realizing what the definition of the word expensive is. The additions, Ayrton Senna helmet. Oh, really? So Ayrton Senna's going to get a helmet. That's very good. That's very good. They should make a Michael Schumacher helmet as well, because they made helmets for the Ferrari drivers and they made helmets for the McLaren drivers. They should make helmets for all. Or they should make helmets for the other three, or for the other six drivers, for the other three constructors in the Fab Five of Formula One, of which, for those who don't know what the Fab Five of Formula One is, the Fab Five are the teams for Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, and Williams. That is the Fab Five of Formula One. Horde is back. You got a steak sub. See, my order at Subway, it's a pizza melt on Italian herbs and cheese bread with the old English cheese and the marinara sauce toasted with lettuce, carrot, onion, and mayonnaise, salt and pepper, and then if I've got a sweet tooth, two chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, I'll check my DMs on Discord after the stream. Yeah, so with Speed Champions, they started as six wide for $15 and they included a small little side build. Then they increased the width to eight studs wide, which improved the prototypical accuracy, which fans really liked. But then they eventually raised the price to 25, and then they eventually raised the price to 27, and now some of the new ones are 28. The price rise from 20 to 25 felt unjustified in my opinion. I did not think the improved quality of design warranted that $5 price increase. And I think tacking on another $2 and then another $1 was greeting. So, unfortunately, those Speed Champions cars, I think they are too expensive. Because we have evidence that they were just as good as quality, just as good as design, just as good of details, just as good prototypical accuracy when they were $20, not $28. So I think the new Speed Champion sets are way too expensive. They cost more, they are less affordable, they are a higher price, and they are expensive. I don't think the $20 Speed Champions cars were expensive. I thought those were I thought they were priced fairly. But the new Speed Champions, when they are the same scale and similar details, similar quality, similar design, no, I don't think that's worth paying $8 more for an 8-wide car. I think it was worth going from 15 to 20 for the width to be expanded from 6 studs wide to 8 studs wide, I thought that was fair because the scale of the car got bigger. A 6 wide car is always going to be smaller than an 8 stud wide car. So I thought that price was fair, but the new prices, nah, I'm not down for that. So you think it is fair to call the Speed Champions theme expensive now? And Billy says you might get the green Challenger or go Back to the Future when they are on sale. Yeah, Speed Champions, they're definitely not worth paying full price anymore. Some people were fine paying the full price of $15 or $20 for Speed Champions, but I don't hear anyone clamoring to pay full price for Speed Champions anymore. And you shouldn't. Speed Champions has lots of tiny parts to make the details. Yeah, I mean, I always say Speed Champions is the theme I point to for the explosion of new parts in LEGO's inventory, i.e. curved slopes. And they introduced so many new pieces in Speed Champion sets to make the cars more prototypically accurate, which I appreciate, because it's good for car collectors and it's good for mock builders. Hoarder, how do you feel about Speed Champions giving us so many new pieces over the years that they've then recolored into pieces that you and I use in our mocks? How do you feel about that as a mock builder? Yeah. And I don't think enough people make the argument about, I don't think enough people factor in the scale of sets when they're talking about the price. Oh no, that's bad news, Hoarder. That's bad news. I remember every Wednesday after high school, we'd go to Hungry Jack's Burger King, and I'd get the chicken Royale stunner, and I'd always ask for heavy mayo on the burger. I would get a Fanta with no ice, and it also included an ice cream and small small fries. When we lived closer to Hungry Jack's Burger King, we used to get coupons in the mail, but after we moved house, we don't get coupons like that anymore. So honestly, I stopped going to Hungry Jack's. And also, since then, they come out with the Jack's Fried Chicken menu, which is meant to compete with KFC, and I think they've done a good job at competing with KFC. With some of their more premium chicken burgers. I honestly really like them. Probably my favorite menu items at Hungry Jack's now. Silent Mode says the Winter Village Christmas sets are a good example of increased scale and price. Well, For my Americans out there, are the Winter Village sets still $100? Are they still $100? Yeah, because that's a tangent we can talk about as well. Because before I say what I want to say about that, I'll wait for a con a confirmation about their price. The train is 130, but what about the buildings? Because I could justify a winter train being more because of the track pieces. Your local Dragon's local Burger King is disgusting. You're surprised they're still open. That's what I've heard from a lot of Americans. Is that Burger King is more and more disgusting than it used to be. If you saw it, you'd be grossed out. Oh, yeah, I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think about that. Moist Critical Penguin Zero routinely criticizes Burger King. More stickers of more sponsors. Alexandria agrees about Burger King. There are good chance that Lego Dragon Ball Z could outsell Star Wars. I wouldn't be surprised about that because Lego Star Wars is in a decline. There are a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans out there. So I'm guessing you're a Dragon Ball Z fan because I know that you're a big Pokemon fan. Yes, you are. So what was yeah, because I remember news videos about they're going to make stuff for Dragon Ball Z, but I'm not sure if we know what the exact set is going to be. If it's going to be a character build or if it's going to be a diorama or whatever. Also, can someone confirm the price of the buildings in the Winter Village before I say what I want to say about that? Because last time I checked, they were all still $100. Horta says Speed Champions and smaller 3-in-1 sets are the best sets to buy because they are affordable as well as including all of the new molds and new colors. That's a good point because Creator 3-in-1, there's also been a lot of new pieces over the years which were introduced in that. Because I always talk about Speed Champions as setting the bar for that. But yeah, you're right, they have introduced a lot of new pieces in Creator. Maybe that's because they have the freedom to do that and because they know if they're introducing something in a Creator 3-in-1 set of all themes, then those new pieces are highly likely to be used in other sets compared to something for a mech. I think for themes with mechs where mech pieces can only be really used in mech builds. It's gonna be is that came or coming? So it's gonna be a house. Will be 18 plus, yeah. Because I don't know any teenagers these days or any kids that even know what Dragon Ball Z is. Okay, well, I'm just going to assume then, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, that the buildings in the Winter Village are still only $100. They've remained at that same price since they introduced the Winter Village theme. But the thing is, they, instead of one big building, it sometimes used to be two smaller buildings, or a bunch of stuff cobbled together. And for the singular buildings, the buildings have gotten a little bit smaller over time, but the price has stayed the same, which is an example of shrinkflation, as is the case with some of the more recent to mechs and cars and ships in sci-fi themes, is that of comparable sets, repetitive sets, the price has stayed the same, but the sets got smaller in scale, which is shrinkflation. I wonder what other sets out there you guys can think about, which are examples of shrinkflation. Because I could think of a few, but what do you guys think? Alexandria looked at the last Winter Village set was $100. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I am right about that. There's still $100, exception for the holiday train, because that's a train. Where does this go on? That goes on there. Yeah. I wonder what the next Winter Village set is going to be. I don't collect Winter Village sets, but I know a lot of people who do. And Winter Village sets have been so popular that now they're making the Midnight Valley sets, which are the Halloween equivalent, which people who enjoy Halloween as much as they do Christmas will really like that. So the new guys aren't as good as the old timers. Well, that's why they call themselves sandwich artists, because it is an art form to get a sandwich right. Halloween is the new Christmas. Well, it's just as marketable as Christmas these days, because there are some people who like Halloween more than Christmas because of the spooky vibes. And here's a crackpot theory. What if more people prefer Halloween over Christmas because people aren't as religious as they used to be? Ooh. What do you think about that? The next Winter Village set is 1,354 pieces and will include the light brick. Yeah, there's been a lot of Winter Village sets that included a light brick, like for the fireplace or an oven, and some other type of builds. You know, Lego is coming out with a large scale Mrs. Claus. Yeah, I did hear a while ago that the Santa Claus upscaled minifigures sold well, so I heard those rumors a while ago. So did the Lego Group confirm that now? Because I think that would be a timely release if they come out with an upscaled Mrs. Claus in November. Hoarder still buys occasional Star Wars set just for the figs, but when you buy 3-in-1, it's just for parts. You got the 3-in-1 horse just came just because you need some of the pieces in there. Yeah, there are some sets where I only buy it because of the pieces. Like, I remember back in the day when they were clearing out the Lego Movie 2 sets, I found 3 of the pop-out party bus sets for 70% off. That is the deepest clearance I've ever bought any Lego set ever. You think the Dragon Ball Z is going to bring Ninja with the bricks out of retirement? Well, he has been in some of Hive's recent live stream chats, so he's still out there. But do you think that'll be enough for him to do content again? Because a lot of people really miss his old live streams. More stickers. Hopefully these are the last stickers in this bag today. There's been a lot of sponsorship to put on today. Ah, damn it. I put these on the wrong way. Yeah, I hate it when this happens. Let's make those adjustments. I wasn't paying attention to the instructions. There we go. Okay, where does this go? It goes behind where the driver sits. Okay, where does some of this stuff go? Oh yeah, that goes at the front there. Where is that other one? There it is. Someone's dog is barking. Hopefully that's not getting picked up on the microphone. So, this must be some paneling. Oh yeah, that's paneling over the air intake. But oh yeah, there's a 1x4 plate. Just goes underneath there. And with some of the curved slopes we were talking about earlier, that is in the Speed Champion sets, are being used in this sub-assembly right now. And where does that go on? That goes on this side here. That looks a little bit more complete now. The Christmas sets sell so well because they become part of yearly tradition. Exactly. People got used to buying them every year. Same thing with the modulars. Same thing with whatever Star Wars UCS set comes out to get the May the 4th be with you gift with purchase. Same every 2 years when they come out with new sets for amusement parks. What do you think of the rumored Marvel X Star Wars sets coming out? I really don't give a shit about them. They're not for me. Although I am interested in seeing how they execute those sets. Because if it's going to be just as weird as those weird Star Wars Uglies mashups, then I'm not going to like them. But it'll be interesting to see what the pictures of those are, because I'm sure a lot of people will have a field day, no matter how good or bad they are. You say leave those crossovers to mock builders. Well, aren't they doing that because there's media behind it? Like how there was the media behind the What If series in Marvel. That goes on there. So now both of those sides are covered. And now, what's next? Filling in some of these spaces in front. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you can just do stuff like that because they're both owned by Disney. More people were talking about the minifigures that would come with that set, like Chewbacca combined with Hulk, which is one I heard of. Sorry, which is one that you heard of. Yeah, though. Yeah, while the sets may be wild and crazy, so while those crossover sets will be wild and crazy, I think the minifigures will be wilder and crazier. And I'm not sure how minifigure collectors are gonna react to that. I don't know if they'll go gangbusters or if they'll be creeped out. It'll be interesting to see the public reaction to that, because anytime Lego does a crossover of anything, there's a reaction. Like when they did that Dreams, Fast and Furious, and something else crossover thing, people were like, "Why is this happening?" That did not get good reception from what I heard, because it was Dreams, Fast and Furious, and I forget what else it was. Does anyone else remember? What am I doing tomorrow? Actually, well, my tomorrow starts in 11 hours and 42 minutes. I'll probably be sleeping at midnight. Why do you want to do something, Hoarder? And then I'll wake up and spend the day and spend my morning with in the jungle. Whatever Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, or Iron Man variant there will sell. Yeah, because I know that the minifigure collectors are always gonna want to collect that stuff. But people who aren't necessarily, those are the people who I'm most interested in their reaction to. Because there will be minifigure collectors who are completionists, and there are other people who will just try to scalp them for $100 on whatnot, like the hot tub stormtrooper or whatever. Because if you're a completionist or a collector or a scalper, you're always going to go gangbusters about it. And I'm going to wait until my next live stream to continue this to continue talking about, is a Lego too expensive? And I'm gonna reference a comparison that someone else I know made. So on my next live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday night, I'll talk about this. I'll talk about that again. Yeah, a lot of people really liked the Dark Falcon because the ship itself looked cool. This will be a weird comparison. I think the Dark Falcon is to the Millennium Falcon what the Black Monarch's castle was to the original King's castle. Yeah, I know a lot of people who built the Dark Falcon, and most of them really liked it. They're making crossover figs, concept art figs, but still can't manage to give us actual characters in the Clone Wars yet. I know a lot of people who like the Clone Wars who are still really upset they haven't made all of the characters yet. I think there's one last sticker in today's bag. That doesn't add up. Oh, yeah. Looks like we're getting Yes, I did hear about that castle claw machine with a yellow castle vibe. Yes, I am excited. I want to get. I want to get that because it's a throwback to the yellow castle, which was the first castle. As I want to get the pinball machine because that has nostalgia for me. Playing playing 3D pinball Space Cadet on my parents' 2003 Dell computer running Windows XP, of which I played the same game in elementary school on both Windows XP and Windows 7. You have the Yellow Castle, but you don't have the figures. Yeah, I asked Brigzar once upon a time how much it would cost to piece together the Yellow Castle without the minifigures, and he said it was about $50 US. So I anticipate if I could get all the yellow pieces and not care about the figs, not care about the prints for the stickers for the flags, and not necessarily the different types and not necessarily the different types of randomly shaped base plates. Well, Hoarder, if you were 2 minutes behind, set the live stream to 1.5 speed to catch up again. You got it with the box and a few figs, missing some of the stickers. Yeah, it's hard to find sets like that in complete condition used. Um, yeah, you're going to have to set the stream to 1.5 speed to catch up. And also, in between me saying stuff, skip skip the stream by 5 or 10 seconds at a time. Well, if you did that, Hoarder, then you would have missed out on stuff that I said. Now to put more sponsorship on here. Why isn't that going on? There we go. And that's the end of bag 4. So get the brick separator back in for the bookmark. Bag 5 starts at page 100. So that's what the car looks like now. How you like me now? How you like me now? How you like me now? There's a lot more red on the car now. I'll have to take pictures of my progress and post it onto Discord after I have lunch after this stream. Yeah, so you can really see the heavy concentration of sponsorships at the front of the vehicle now, can't you? With Shell, Vodafone, Ferrari themselves, Bridgestone, those were the main sponsors back in the day. They're sponsored by some other brands now. Vodafone don't sponsor them anymore. I don't think they have Bridgestone anymore. Because back in the day, the individual constructors could get contracts for whichever tire supplier they wanted, but sometime after Michael Schumacher won his world championships with Ferrari, Pirelli became the official tire of Formula One, like how Sunoco is the official fuel of NASCAR. Honda has speed champions Formula One and are going to use the wheel control arms and some supports on your mock, but you like the ones on this set for that idea a little better. Yeah, so in that case, do you just want to buy the pieces on Bricklink, or would you buy the set for the pieces? It is looking good so far. It is looking awesome. Yeah, I think I'm good about picking up the context about what people are saying in the chat as well. Yeah, so I'm satisfied with what we got done today. And my let me see the calendar. Yeah, because my StreamYard hours resets on this account on Saturday. So on Saturday, I'm going to be switching back to my main StreamYard account, which I have more avatars that I prefer to use. I kind of had to add some makeshift avatars. I miss my old avatars on my other StreamYard account when I'm live on other people's channels and backstage. It is looking great, isn't it? Okay, you'll buy them on Bricklink. If you were still building the B-Wing, you'd probably buy the set for the red side. So did you finish the B-Wing now? Because I'm not sure if you posted pictures about that on Instagram or not. And we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about for the last 4 minutes. Because if there's no new people that come into the chat, then we're going to end at the top of the hour. And then I'm going to go have lunch afterwards. You're making a more accurate lower gun with the cockpit because you didn't realize it was there. Yet, anything you can do to improve the accuracy, that's a part of the fun, isn't it? Silent Mode wants to set up a sorting marathon. That sounds interesting. Feel free to DM me the details about that, and maybe I can try help organize it. And maybe try and build up some hype. Because I'm always down for sorting parties. Especially when it's with my friends. Billy, are you a food delivery driver? I know other people in the Lego community who are food, who deliver stuff for those food apps. They're side gigs. You're still working on the landing gear folding up into the ship where you lift the wings off. Oh, okay. So you're done. So you're done with the bodying of the B wing. Now you're just working out some of the cosmetics. All one smooth motion. Yeah, I know some people have had trouble getting the landing gear to work in the past. You deliver pizza. Yeah, because delivering pizza was the OG of food delivery, like in the Home Alone movie, where Kevin orders the cheese pizza, pays the money, leaves the change, and then I'm gonna give you to the counter 10 to get your whiny, no good, whatever looking keister off my property, and then fakes shooting the driver, so he stumbles in the snow trying to get the fuck out of there. Good times. You're figuring it out now that you have all of the dimensions. So you're building Technic skeleton that will connect the landing gear to the wings, then rebuild it. Yeah, because Technic framing makes everything come together. For stability. Honestly, that's my favorite part about Technic these days. Internal mechanisms. Anyway, thanks for watching this live stream. It is appreciated. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It's lunchtime, so I'll see you on my next live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday night. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.